They interact with each other like an amp. Just dropped into the studio is the new Soldano SLO Plus. SLO stands for Super Lead Overdrive. And if that means nothing to you, then join the club, because I've never played a Soldano amp in my life. However, I do know quite a lot about them because I know of their legend. And this is apparently going to sound just like the amp. The thing is, I don't know if this is going to sound like the amp or not because I've never played the amp. So if you've never played the amp, then welcome to the correct video. Well done for choosing this one, because we're going to judge this solely on how good an overdrive it is, rather than is it anything like the amp itself. I'm going to run the SLO Plus through two amps today. The first one is my trusty Fender Deluxe Reverb, and the second one is the Orange Pedal Baby 100, which is a power amp designed to take pedals well. Let's start with my humbucker-equipped Jupiter from Valiant, and let's also start with the clean sound, just so you get to hear that. And let's go for first the crunch channel. So, as they call it here, the normal channel. That is crunchy. Wow. Okay. Overdrive channel. All right. The overdrive channel has already been released in the first pedal that Soldano did. This new SLO Plus has the addition of the normal channel, or the crunch channel, because it's anything but normal. Normal channel. There's bite, there's aggression, there's clarity, there's fun. That's the new normal channel. I love that. There's a bit too much bass when everything was set at 12 for me, and the Fender Deluxe Reverb is set the same as I always have it, which is bass and treble, on about 3. How much more drivey can it get? Needs to be louder. It is actually overdriving my my interface. Audio interface is adjusted. It should, be able to handle a bit more volume now. That is so much fun. It is pretty darn loud in here. It's louder than it normally is. But that I know they say amp in a box. this is an amp in a box. Remember, this is the clean tone. Forgive the playing for a moment. I'm just trying to hear that chord where this is where you hear the difference between a good amp simulator and not such a good one. The note definition, the sort of the way the note comes in and then stays there and then doesn't die in some horrible digital kind of way. This is great. I do know other chords, by the way, but let's just quickly try the overdrive channel, or maybe not quickly. I'm going to have to play some lead lines because that's definitely set up for lead rather than chords. Damn. All right, let's go up the dusty end. This is immense fun. I really want to do that again, but on the normal channel. Hear what that sounds like. The gain is still there, the sustain's still there, but when you put it on the overdrive channel, it's got this fatness. Let's try normal with that deep switch, which is just on the side. Can you? There's my finger. Can you see it? It's just there. It just sounds so much like an amp, which I know is kind of obvious, but that's often marketing speak. It feels and sounds like an amp. I just don't know if it sounds like that amp. It doesn't sound Marshall, although it kind of does. It doesn't sound Orange. It doesn't sound... It's kind of somewhere between... It's somewhere between a Mesa and a Plexi. It's somewhere there. Kind of that... Yeah, it hasn't got the raspiness of Orange or like Laney or H&K or something, but it's kind of British and American at the same time. And it's not too 80s. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it's not that. But I guess it could be. Let's do the unthinkable and try the deep stuff on the overdrive channel. However, I do know that now, from this bit on, is the same as the pedal they released before, because this is the same pedal, just... Well, it's not the same pedal, it's just they've added the normal channel and some extra controls for it. So, this is overdrive, and I will switch the deep on at some point. Whoa! I added a touch of delay in there from the Walrus Audio D1, and it is a great lead pedal. Kind of hurt my fingers going at that dusty end. There's the D1 settings, should you need them or want to know what they are. And this little beauty is an absolute beauty. I do feel I want to get some more blues stuff out of it, though, because Soldano have said that the normal channel was used by people like Eric Clapton, unbelievably. Like, I'm used to the people that played the SLO 100 back in the day. I did my research, but I didn't think that Clapton would be the name that came up when this pedal was put on my desk. So I'm going to change to a Strat and see what happens. Right, this is the Player 2 Series Strat from Fender. And the settings definitely need to change for that, unsurprisingly. Let's have a look. Let's put everything back at 12. Oh, we had the normal right up there. Let's put that down there. I need to be less normal, please. 80s Clapton is not my my wheelhouse. Let's just adjust things a bit. So I'm gonna give it that bass boost. There we go. I feel like it needs that. Not feeling it yet. Needs a bit more playing around, I think. Right, I've got something that's quite Clapton-like. It involves not being on 10 on the volume. It feels like I'm playing an amp. It's that simple. Up on 10, that feels too much. It's too, like, heavy rock. But back it off and you've got a lovely crunchy blues. In fact, let's back off a bit of that treble. As soon as I go to chords, it kind of fluffs up a little bit in that area. If you're doing lead guitar, which I don't often do, I really enjoy that. I wonder if I can get a bluesy sound on the overdrive and then a more rhythm sound on the normal. So I'm going to back that off and bring that up because it doesn't sound the same. Not the same at all, is it? It's completely more compressed and more full. Sounds like I've got wool over the speaker. Whoa. Well, that proves that the channels definitely don't sound the same, but I wonder if I can get it to sound more like the normal channel on the overdrive channel. I found something that's a bit more blues, rhythm and lead on 2 channels, which is this. And then for the lead. But it's still not as nice, in my opinion, as that crunch on its own, wherever I had it earlier. Yeah, that was really beautiful. There it is. That is a great lead tone that isn't too sassy, you know? Let's try it through the pedal baby and see if it makes any difference to Stop Having Tubes. So, orange pedal baby, there it is, set completely flat across the top with a bit of the volume knocked off. I need to change it now. There's too much presence on there. I think it needs the deep switch. Clean tone for reference. So there's a bit of added volume, which is going to make it sound better. Bit raspier. Let's back that off. Right, I need to get rid of this strat. There's people probably shouting at me now for using a strat. I'm just trying to see what it does, all right? Let's go back to humbuckers. I'm going to bring in the SG. This is the orange pedal baby. I think I prefer the normal channel. This is weird. Is that normal? I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure at all. Let's see if the lead night sounds nicer. It doesn't feel like all the chords work well with the pedal. Does that make sense? It feels like it's more like a lead line. Mwah! It makes me sound acceptable. But chords, I'm not sure. Let's go back home to some classic rock and see if I can make it sound more acceptable. I'm not digging it with the pedal baby. I had such a nice sound through the Fender that I'm just going to go back to it. I'm not saying that it doesn't work through the pedal baby. I'm just fighting it a bit more. So I don't want to do that. But bear that in mind if you're not using a tube amp that says Fender on it. There's just more harmonics there. It just, to my ears, sounds better and feels better as a player. Yeah. Let's. I know what I want to do. Bit wimpy. Now it's lacking something. Is it fullness? There it is. I think this is the first pedal I've ever played where you don't have a gain and a volume. You have a preamp and a power amp volume or pot, and they're not doing volume, as in usually you'd have the gain adjusting the amount of gain and then the volume adjusting the volume. This, they're working together, and that's super weird at first for me. It was kind of hard to discover that, but now that I've discovered it, I realized that if you want a cleaner tone, you don't generally bring the gain down of the preamp and push the gain of the power amp up. That's what I'm trying to say. It's you've got to, they interact with each other like an amp. It does a great sort of clean-ish. There is so much gain on there. It's unbelievable. Right. Baritone time. Woo! So clean. It's kind of just adding a little bit of grit and tone adjusting at that point. The start in the middle. I need that deep switch. That's it. That's the tone I was looking for. Maybe a bit more mids. I'm excited to know what this is going to do on the Overdrive channel. Starting at 12 again. That's great fun, but it's not the best pedal I've ever had on a baritone. It is good. It's not my favorite. That's fine. That's fine. I have noticed I've started to get confused now between which of these knobs does what. And I was used to have the preamp on the left and the power amp on the right, or the master on the right. So that's confused me a little bit. And for me, it always goes bass, middle, treble. So that's confused me a little bit. And presence is exactly where it should be. That's fine. You stay there. Now, of course, there are going to be far more better players on the internet with this pedal today. So if you're into super wheedly wheedlies, then I recommend you try a few of those videos as well. But as a player that doesn't do those, but is looking for something that is still full and fat, and I do love my Marshall territory, this is it. This is amp-like. This is fun. The lead stuff makes me want to learn to play better lead rather than feel like I suck at it and then, feel less than. This pedal is encouraging me to play better. I hope that makes sense. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the original pedal was about 229 notes, if I remember. This one's coming in at 269. So you're getting that extra channel, but it's not doubling the price, which would be ridiculous. If you have the original SLO pedal and you only use the drive, then you don't need this pedal because it does that. But if you are interested in Soldano, but you need something that isn't full-on lead, high gain, monstrous, then this is the one to look for because you've got that extra normal channel. I would use this as a sole overdrive. I think it's worth it. I think it's absolutely worth the risk of having it just on its own. But the jump from clean or normal to overdrive is a bit too much. So what I want now is a deluxe version plus deluxe, plus, that has independent EQs and presence for each channel. And I'm sure Soldano thought about doing that, but it would have bumped the price up even more. But if you ever do it in the future, Soldano, thank you very much. I'd like to try that one. Right, there are links to it underneath this video and in the first comment. Let me know what you think in that comment section, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!